Hello, friends. It is Tuesday, April 29th. We are 11 minutes late due to technical difficulties on both of our parts, but I'm glad to be here. My name is Cody Hand. I'm with the Speakers Collaborative, and today in our studio, we've got a good friend of mine, Shlomo Homnick, who is joining us to tell me that I'm probably wearing the wrong thing. Anyway, I'm going to bring him on stage and we're going to talk to Shlomo. Hey, buddy.
Hi. That's not how I do that. I don't just come in and rag on people. That's not my
Oh,
that's
well,
not my
I'm always a little self conscious about it, but here we are. How are you?
Cody, if you're actually self-conscious, I know a guy.
I do. Tell me about him.
Yeah. So I'm my name is Shlomo Homnick, live in Chicago, and I actually got started drawing. So I used to love to draw manga and comic book style. That never became a career, but it was a factor in my style journey and getting that started. So, yeah, I think a lot of people are surprised to find out that I draw, and I'm always surprised because it's always just been a deep part of my identity. So it's always kind of shocking to me when people don't know that.
So you still draw?
Yeah, I do still draw. This is not my work, although it is really cool. But yeah, I do still draw. I just don't get to do it as much.
Would you say that's your interesting fact, or do you have another one?
Ooh, would I say that's my interesting factor? Do I have another one? I don't know. What's more interesting than that? I'm sure I have a lot, but I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah.
Let's stick with that. Maybe I'll have like an ADHD moment, and I'll just be like, oh, actually, let's go back to that interesting thought.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm confused because you're wearing your mic. So for those of you who haven't seen some of Shlomo's reels, he has a fork that he likes to put his mic on. He actually has his fork in a velvet pouch, so it stays safe and shiny. Do you polish it?
No,
Okay.
I don't. It just goes along with my little headphone case
Gotcha.
to keep it all
Gotcha.
together.
Well, that's
I actually haven't used the fork mic in a while, but yeah, most of my content has been clips for my podcast, and so I've just been clipping my mic and doing
got
it
it.
a lot like we're doing it today.
Got it. Awesome. All right. So we know you like to draw. We know that you are a style guru. And so tell me, so we know you got your style guru start with drawing, but how did you go from that to making it your career?
Yeah, so I'll try to make the long story short, but I struggled a lot socially and with my own confidence and self-esteem and self-acceptance a lot in late adolescence, early, even like really through to my early 20s. But I would say a lot of that manifested through high school, and then it improved, but it continued out into my early 20s. And I I think that I latched onto style specifically, like even though I had gaps in a lot of different social areas, I knew that visuals were a big part of the way we unconsciously communicate with each other. And I think I latched onto that because of my artistic background, because that's kind of how I saw the world and still continue to see the world in some way. And so I just I just noticed that it felt like the guys who had it together already, like I felt very behind, and the guys who had it together already, it's like they showed up the first day already knowing what they were supposed to wear, right? I'm just like, how did everyone know to get the same shoes? Like, how did that happen? How did everyone, like, you've never met? This is the first day of ninth grade, and like everyone just knew that these were the cool shoes. Like, how? So yeah, I latched onto that, and I think I also saw it as a way to hide at that time and as a way to become someone else. You know, I, I'm very grateful that through the process, I was able to go from I want to be someone else to I want to be an improved version of myself. But it took a long time to get to even want to be me. So, yeah, after years of trial and error and really educating myself, I came out on the other end with not only, well, I would say I never really got the actual skills to specifically fit in. But what I did get was this body of knowledge that I couldn't deny I had done. Like I had accomplished this thing, I had built this. And that helped me see parts of myself that I hadn't been able to fully flesh out. And that in turn helped me accept a lot of the parts of myself that I really hadn't liked in the past and integrate those and become a lot more comfortable with myself. So I was able to go from I want to be someone else to oh, I kind of like myself, and now how can I be that best version of me? And
That's
yeah, and
great.
I really believe that that became accessible because through the process of style, I had to learn these important self improvement lessons in order to take the next step.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if you I
That's
don't know
great.
where you want to take that.
We're going to take it a few places, but you have some fans. First of all, Shell Shapiro says hello from Seattle,
Hi, Shell.
and she followed up. She loved the comment. It took a long time to want to be me. That is so relatable. I think, I would gamble to bet that you are quite a bit younger than me, and the fact that you've done it 20 years before I did it is great. Um, it, but it resonates because it took me a long time to want to be me too.
It's
Um,
hard.
yeah, Renee from Louisiana says hi. Hey, Renee, thanks for tuning in. And we've got another a LinkedIn user. Do you draw style ideas for your clients? I think this hinges off of you being an artist.
It is something that I've thought about. And I think the challenge for me is that my drawing medium has always been pencil, pen, and paper, like very physical medium. And in order to, I think, get those ideas across, it would have to be a little more digital. And that's just not really a skill set that I've built up yet. Um, that and yeah, I don't know. I'm saying, Cody, you make content, but I don't know how many people watching make content. Nothing simple. So if I wanted to film myself, like if I wanted to film a drawing and me drawing it, like that's a whole skill set I need to learn. And so I just haven't been able to put the time into, figuring out the digital art to the degree that I would feel comfortable integrating it and the filming my physical art in the way that I would feel comfortable integrating it. But it is absolutely something that I think about on a semi-regular basis.
That's great.
It's a great question. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Interested to see if you ever did start doing that. All right, Shlomo, it is now your solo time. So every week we give our speakers the opportunity to have the stage by themselves. As you all know, the Speakers Collaborative is a program that we put together to get people on stage. Anybody can be a speaker. Anybody can talk. Everybody needs content. You mentioned earlier creating content. Everybody needs it in this world where we are constantly looking at and producing and seeing things. Everybody needs it. So, Shlomo, I'm going to give you 5 to 10 minutes to get your content. So,
Here we go.
audience is there. We've got some of your fans already, and I'm going to take my leave for a few minutes. When you are ready for me to come back, just squeak or send up a signal or whatever.
Yeah, I just say, Cody, come back,
Yeah,
please.
you could do that too. All
I'm
right.
lost in the woods. Help me, Cody.
All right, man. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Shlomo Homnick. First off, just want to acknowledge that, I'm a little nervous. And I think for a very long time, something that got in my way was believing that in order to be confident, I had to be perfect. And so anything that didn't really meet that criteria received judgment. And then that created more uncomfortable spirals. So, this is, I've done podcasts before, I've done live streams before, and I have a background in sales and I still get nervous. So if you're ever doing anything like this, I hope that you can remind yourself that the nerves are normal. The most confident people they still feel nervous when they present. I want to give a little bit of my initial pitch, and not a pitch as in sales, but in order to dive into my ideas and why I do what I do, and then see where that takes us. So I don't think it's a secret that most guys. I don't think it's a secret that most guys style's a big challenge. Maybe you would even go so far as to say, most guys their style kind of sucks. And I think a lot of that comes from their approach. And I had this when I started, which is just give me a fish, right? There's, feed a man a fish and he can eat for a day, teach a man to fish and he can, eat for life. I think a lot of guys take a very just give me a fish approach. They're not so interested. And so what they do is they're just like, hey, I just want to fit in. I don't want to stand out in a massive negative way. And so they'll look at the people around them or they'll rely on the women in their lives. And, the women in your life, first of all, if it's your wife or your girlfriend, like you don't want to be their child, right? They're already dressing other people, pot. You don't want to be just another child that they have to shop for and dress every morning. But on top of that, you know, men and women and just people in general, we have different motivations and interests. And it's not always so straightforward that people can have our answers. So your wife may not actually know what your goals and aspirations are or the references that you find meaningful. So when you ask her to dress you, you're not just giving away power over the way people see you. You're also you're handing over a project to someone who really doesn't have the context. So at most she'll be dressing you the way she wants you to dress, and that puts you in a position where you're just somebody else's, plaything in a way. And if you're looking to your friends, look, some people have very stylish friends, and if they do, hopefully those friends are giving them advice, like real actionable, helpful advice, and they're not just quietly looking at them and copying what they wear. Because yeah, a lot of guys, their friends don't really know what on earth they're doing. And another thing that I think guys will run into is maybe they figure out style by looking at the people around them or getting good advice, but that advice is very specific. And so therefore it's more time bound. They may have learned how to dress really well in their 20s, and then that stays the only way they're able to dress. They're not able to evolve with the times. And that's not to say that you should be following trends, but you should be able to follow, I would say, the macro trends or the overarching trends, the big trends that last more like a decade or longer, being able to tap into that energy where you don't look like you're trapped in the past. So a lot of guys may figure out how to dress for a certain context, but they don't know how to apply that in other areas because they don't have the foundation. They just they've just got the fish. They never learn to fish. They just have it. So what I do, and I think what I think is much more helpful and much more empowering, is for guys to really find their personal style. Like, what is their version of style? And that's not really something that you can get from the outside world. You can get inspiration. You can definitely pull inspiration, but it's very hard to do that without learning the underlying skills. And those skills, they're related to, obviously there's the rules of style. The rules of style, like any other artistic endeavor, like any other creative endeavor, there are rules, rules that apply to shape and proportion and color, um, balance, right? Our bodies and faces and skin and hair, all the factors that make up our physical existence are bound by the same rules that apply to artistic expressions like drawing, photography, graphic design. So, in order for you to not only express yourself authentically, but also be aesthetically pleasing, you have to understand the rules and then how they apply to you as an individual. You also need to know your context. There are, like I said, a lot of guys who they know how to dress for one context, and then everything else they're sort of lost. So maybe they have two extremes. They're suit and tie at work, and they're jeans and sweat, or like t-shirt and sweats at home. They don't really have those in between contexts. They don't really have an understanding of what to wear for the in between contexts, like date night or more casual office events. Something that still communicates their competence, adding just enough warmth that they're able to express themselves a little more and not lose sight of that aesthetic element. Also keep things balanced and visually appealing. Something that I don't see talked about by even in men's style spaces, and something that really changed my approach to style is the idea of archetypes. In a way, we're all embodying different characters. There is an aspect to our persona, the way that we interface with the world, that is acting. And that's not to say inauthentic, that's to say not listening to our lowest impulse, right? I'm pretty nervous right now, but if I were to authentically express that nervousness, I might be shaking, I might be sweating, but I'm presenting a more thoughtful, careful, put together front. I'm able to say, okay, there is a part of me that's nervous, but that doesn't mean that I have to completely fall apart. And the same thing applies to your style. You want to find and create this character that is you, how you want to be, how you want to be seen, who you want to become, and figure out the elements of that character and dress for that. And that doesn't just apply to the job, it's also integrating parts of your personality. And yeah, archetypes are something that I dive into uh, in my podcast and that I dive into in my content. So if you're interested in that, definitely check that out. I also have a quiz for that. So if this is a little confusing, there are resources to get a little more clarity on that. And finally, your story. So once you have the rules and your contexts, you understand those, and you have an idea of your archetypes, then we can get back together with your story. And that's really important, especially for you. If you're watching this, if you're following Cody, you probably have some relationship to public speaking. And so you understand that your story is, what you're selling, it's what you're doing. And being able to tell that story in the way that you dress is incredibly powerful. And while it does encompass the first three, there are elements of it that add a unique flavor to the other parts, right? The rules, the context, the archetypes. Your story will flavor that in a unique way that even if someone else maybe on paper has the same breakdown, your story is what changes how that shows up. I hope I've made a case for 10 minutes is up. So I hope I've made a case for personal style, figuring out who you are and what the best route is for you instead of trying to look outside yourself and rely on other people to tell you who you should be.
Do you still ask your wife if you look okay when you get dressed?
I don't ask. I don't. I mean, sometimes I'll let her know, like, I really like this outfit,
Okay.
and I'll get some feedback, but I'm not like, there are times where my wife will be like, no, I really don't like this. And I can look in myself and say, okay, but do I like this? Yeah, I like this. It doesn't have to destroy me. It's nice. Like, it's nice when she also likes it, but I also know usually when she doesn't like it, it's not because I look bad. It's more like it's a little over the top or a
Yeah.
little extra, because I can definitely do that. So yeah, it's not that I don't like feedback, but I can rely on myself. I can trust myself that I'm presenting in a way that I want to present.
Got it. So we've got a question from Shell. She's got actually this two parts. So the first one is, why is it helpful for people to know their body type?
Yeah. So I mean, you can tell me if you've had this. I have a lot of what one of the questions that comes up a lot, or one of the concerns that comes up a lot, is guys will say, "Oh, I have a really hard time, let's say, buying pants." I think pants are probably a big one that guys struggle with, and a lot of the times it's because of body type. So a lot of styles of pant, especially for the last 20 or so years, they're primarily a slimmer fit, and that is built for just one body type. And that body type is the straight body type, right? You're just your whole body, your narrower shoulders, and your body just kind of goes straight down. There's not really any curvature or shape, it just falls, right? And you can see this because what a lot of guys will struggle with is they're trying on all these pants, and it's like, okay, if I get a pair of pants that fits my waist, it doesn't fit my hips and my rear. And if I get a pair that fits that, then it's like 3 sizes up, because it's built for this body that just goes straight down. Now, there are other body types and there's other areas of the body, but I think this is an example a lot of people can relate to. When you understand that you're more, either like not round, sorry, there we go, straight versus round. When you can understand that your body type leans a little bit more round or medium, so somewhere between, like not fully straight, not fully round, you understand that you're going to have to look at either other fits or in some cases custom, but I would start with other fits. So something that I do, I fall into this category. I lift a lot, I do a lot of legs, and I have smaller waist, and then my legs are much bigger. So pants really don't tend to fit me. So it's like here, and then I round out. But because I know that I'm not trying to buy pants that are built for this straight down, waist is the same as hips body. So I will look at different fits. So maybe that's a relaxed fit or a wide fit. Because if you think about it, what would relaxed fit be? It would be that it fits your waist, but then it's relaxed. It has more room. So if you have a small waist and then you need more room, that's what you're looking for. And of course, you may still need tailoring in the legs. You may still want to adjust parts of the fit, but as far as putting in the most minimal tailoring, try out some other fits. You may even find that another fit fits you the way you want. You know, you have thicker legs, straight fit might be slim on you, right? You have really, really thin legs, skinny might be slim on you. Don't just trust the label. Don't just trust the sizing. Think about your body and what it needs, and think about how a different fit would hang on the body.
Yep. I think everybody needs a good tailor.
And of course, there's other elements to body type, but that's why I think it's really important to understand that, know what you're looking for.
Yeah. So Shlomo, you have previously helped me and have talked about helping our speakers with the collaborative, because being on stage, what you wear is your first impression when you walk out on that stage. So, what would you say is for for the average man starting out his career as a speaker, as as anything in front of people, team leader, whatever? What would you say is your number one thing that you notice in all of your clients? The first thing that you have to maybe not fix, but maybe correct,
I would say
other than the jeans.
what?
Other than the jeans.
Other than the jeans, I have no problem with jeans.
I mean the fit that you just talked about.
Yeah, I think that coordination is a good place to start. I think that a lot of the time you can do a lot with what you have in your closet if you start to put it together more strategically. And that's not always true. Some people really have such a chaotic collection of clothing that there's really not much you can do. But I do see a lot of guys who something isn't working, but there's something else that it would work with. So, yeah, understanding color and how colors go together can be really helpful in order to make balanced outfits and make outfits that feel intentional. They feel like you put a little bit of thought into them. They don't have to feel really try hard, but I see so many outfits where it's like the shirt there's nothing referencing anything else in it. Everything is completely random. It's like I'm trying to
Yeah,
think of like an example, but
yeah, get it.
yeah, you have like the jacket doesn't match the pants, doesn't match the shirt, and then the socks are white gym socks for some reason, like they're ankle socks, and you're wearing like athletic sneakers. Like things need to have connectors. If you almost think of each piece like a puzzle piece, you need to piece it together. Everything needs to have some reason why it like blends into the next thing.
All right, we're gonna stop talking style for a minute.
Okay, let's do it.
Are you a reader?
I am a reader. I had a period of time where I was not. I could not go more than like 5 minutes without just falling asleep.
Hmm.
And I actually, so at the time I was really forcing myself to read a lot of self-help sort of books or like business related books. And I was like, no, I can't spend this time. I need to spend this time on being productive. And I could not for the life of me make headway in a book. I completely took a step back and started reading only the sorts of books that I used to really enjoy. So a lot more fantasy novels. And that has gotten me consistently reading and also given me a lot more of the wherewithal to read other sorts of media. So yeah, I do read.
So
It's a
what do
very
you read?
long way to say yes.
Yeah, what are you reading now?
What am I reading now? I'm reading The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson.
Never heard of
You never heard of it. So Brandon Sanderson is like, I think he's generally really high fantasy. Like I've found that he's sometimes sort of challenging. The pattern that I've found with his books is that he's challenging to get into, but once you get to a certain point, it's just like it just takes off, and they're really incredible. He was brought in to take over the Wheel of Time series, which I have not read, but apparently that's very prestigious since it's like a very complicated, carefully thought out series. He's very good at world building. Yeah, my wife got me into him. He had written these one-off books, and she got one and she really liked it, and then I read it, and then we've been reading more of his one-offs, but slowly but surely getting through more of his bookography. No, that's not the word.
bibliography?
No, bibliography is like, yeah, what's his like his collection,
Yeah.
his collection of works. So yeah, that's what I'm reading right now.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any questions? Oh wait, hold on. This is good.
Ooh.
Man wearing something unique to him is a great networking icebreaker.
Yes, I don't disagree with that. But what I would say is be intentional. And I think this is where that emphasis on the rules comes in, which is like this is a game, right? Like you want to be having fun, right? What do you do to have fun? Play a game. Style is a game in the same way that all the other systems in the world are a game. Piaget, right? And the thing with games is that they are fun when you understand the rules. Once you understand the framework and the rules, then it's not that you're limited, it's that you're honed and you're able to follow and break the rules more carefully. So I do really like an interesting or unique piece as an icebreaker. I think it can be, I sometimes call them litmus tests. I have a few pieces of clothing myself that I consider to be litmus tests, depending on how people react to them. If they react with sort of like shock or horror or disgust, I'm like, okay, you're not really so open-minded. We're probably not going to get along. Versus getting more of like a curiosity,
Yeah.
like an interest or curiosity without judgment. It's a pretty good litmus test for whether or not people are judgmental or open. So
That's
yeah,
how I
I
feel about
would
my
agree.
shoes.
Hmm?
That's how I feel about my shoes.
That's how you feel about your shoes?
Yeah. So I actually don't like to wear shoes. I've zeroed in on a brand. I say that with a pun because it's zero XT.
You like the barefoot shoes, right?
Yeah, and they're great, and they definitely spark a lot of conversation because basically a rubber sole with a little piece of string holding it onto my foot, and I'm fine with it. I won't wear it with a suit. Like today, I had to wear my dress shoes because I had a suit.
Could someone drop in the chat? I'm getting some up and down from your sound, Cody, and
Oh,
I just
okay.
wonder if it's just me or because I think it might just be on my end. I'm getting some funny interference.
It's all good. We're actually out of time. So,
Oh, dang.
do you have? I'm going to give you the last parting words.
Oh, okay. Do I part?
Well, no, you don't say goodbye. You have one more piece of wisdom from you.
Ooh, additional piece of wisdom. Don't don't wait until you have it all figured out to give yourself permission to be confident. I spent a long time thinking that I needed to check boxes in order to be confident. And I think before that, I thought, okay, you need to meet these criteria in order to be allowed to feel this way, right? The people who are confident, they check these boxes. And I'm never going to check those boxes. And then I got to the place where I said, oh, well, okay, maybe I can start to check these boxes and then I'll earn permission to be confident. And I checked those boxes. And on the other end, I realized, oh, okay, I checked the boxes and I still have to choose confidence. I still have to channel it and allow myself to feel it. You can skip that step. You can give yourself permission to be confident today without checking all the boxes. And that's not to say that, like, obviously I'm not saying that that means that the boxes have no value, but check the boxes because you want to. Check the boxes because you're honoring yourself, because you know that you're amazing and you are confident. And someone who's amazing and confident should, or someone who's amazing and confident would be honored by insert thing you want to do instead of, oh, things are going well, or, I do kind of like myself, but how about I find some reason to just attack myself and tear myself down. So yeah, really giving yourself permission to feel things. Confidence is just an emotion. It's accessible to you. Same way you can think of something sad to feel sad, and you can think of something upsetting to feel angry. you can channel confidence. You don't need to check any box.
Well, here's the deal. Why don't we do this? If you need somebody to give you permission to feel confident,
That too.
Shlomo and I right now are giving you permission to feel confident.
Yeah, me and Cody are giving you permission. If you need permission to be confident in the realm of public speaking and making that your career and taking that next big step, check out Cody. That's what he does. Find out if Cody's the right fit for you.
I appreciate that. And by the way, if you do enter the cohort of the Speakers Collaborative, we do have access to some of our resources. One of them is my good friend Shlomo Homnick, who's going to talk to you about what you wear on stage.
Yes, I'm very excited for that. We need to,
we need to make that happen. We need to make that happen. Shlomo, where do we find you?
Primarily on LinkedIn. That's my pseudo website. I do have a website. It's not as put together and fleshed out as my LinkedIn. I consider that to be my core landing page. I do have a YouTube channel where I post my podcast, and I also post my podcast on Spotify. So you can find me. Those are the three main areas. But the easiest way to get in touch with me is connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can connect. I'm friendly sometimes.
Amazing. You are friendly, very friendly. All right, this has been great. Thank you for your patience as we worked out our technical.
Thank you so much. My patience, your patience. I was
partly me too. So Shlomo,
our mutual patience.
Yeah, right. Hang out for a minute. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you. All right, friends. That was our friend Shlomo Homnick. He is an asset and a resource for the Speakers Collaborative. If you'd like to learn more about the Speakers Collaborative, visit our website, thespeakerscollaborative.com. If you would like to learn more about the studio sessions or would like to be a guest on the studio session, shoot me a DM in whatever platform you're watching this on right now. Email me, Cody@codyhand.com, or just go to the Speakers Collaborative and hit the button that says more information. Until next week, have a great day, everybody. Do you want to tell your story? Stop sitting on the sidelines. We built a stage. Get on it.